All right, I want to welcome you all to Learn Zoom with Katy. My name is Katy Warren. I'm with the State Head Start and ECAP Association. We are doing a series of webinars for parents and staff that we hope are helpful. And we're also doing a lot of meetups. So every week we have component discussion groups of about 45 minutes for pre-K teachers, for birth to 3, for home visitors, for ERSI, and we're about to add one in English and one in Spanish for parents to talk to each other about what they're experiencing and what kind of supports they need. So I encourage folks to join those. You can go to our website to find the links to all of the webinars that we're offering. Today's is a Katy special, and the reason I thought of this was one of the meetups last week where pre-K teachers were saying that they were about to start exploring Zoom with children, and I know programs are doing it with staff, and we have been doing a lot of Zoom, and so I think I have maybe not a PhD level or understanding of Zoom at this point, but I'm definitely got my BA in Zoom at this point. And I think the opportunity to experience what it is to be a host and also ask questions that are particular to your situation will be what we're gonna do today. So I am going to get started. I actually have a PowerPoint, so I'm going to share my screen. You all have been put in here as co-hosts, unless you have arrived a little bit late, in which case you haven't. Let's see here. Let me just make sure that all of you guys are co-hosts. And I'm doing that so that you can see what it is that a host or a co-host sees on the bottom of their screen. Because it's not the exact same list of options on your menu bar. Okay, I think you're all co-hosted now, and I'm going to share my screen to get started. All right, let me go to this. Okay, so this is what we're going to go over today, the manage participants section of this, the share screen, because that is of critical importance, the chat and polls, and then I have maybe a little bit more about breakout rooms and some general tips. Up at the top of this screen, you can see the menu bar that you should have on your screen somewhere if you are a co-host. This is different from what the participants see. They do see an icon that says participants, but they don't have the same ability to manage the other people who are on the call. But I always like to point that out to my participants if I'm doing a webinar, because there are features in there that can help you that are open to you, and we'll go through a couple of those. Polls, chats, share screen, reactions, and then in more, there are breakout rooms, which is a feature that I love and which works particularly well with staff, and so we'll talk a little bit about that at the end. Okay, I'm going to start with manage participants. And so I kind of want all of you to click your Manage Participants button down there at the bottom so that you can see what it looks like on your screen when you are a co-host. The things that you can do on the Manage Participants screen are you can mute and unmute everyone. You can make someone else a co-host, which is what I did with all of you. You can have a yes/no poll. You can rename someone, which I did with those of you who came in under the same name, and then you can invite someone to join the group. So if you want to click on Manage Participants, I'm going to go to the next page here. So I actually have a slide in here that says that mute is your best friend, because I think we've all been on Zoom meetings where where someone has been unmuted. So I always start everything by muting everybody and telling them that they're welcome to unmute themselves whenever they want. This is a little more tricky, right? When you are talking about doing a really interactive experience with kids or adults. So we'll talk a little bit about that later. But so now you have your participants box open. And if you fly your name over someone's thing, you can click mute or unmute depending on what status they're in. If you go down to the very bottom of your box, you can see that you have 3 options. Invite, which if you click that, it will take you to an ability to send an email into your own email server. And so that's what invite is about. You can mute all or unmute all. One of the things that that is tricky is if you have co-hosts, right? So if you have a few people who are presenting with you, when you hit mute all, you are muting all of them also. So, so if they are not, so one of the benefits of establishing someone as a co-host is that they show up at the top of. So, so yeah, oh, I'm muted. Hold on, somebody muted me. Good, let me unmute myself. Okay, I'm good. All right, so, so there's a couple other things that you can do from here. So if you fly over someone's name and hit more, you have the choice of chat, which means that you will send them a direct chat. You can stop their video. You can spotlight their video so that their video will come up for everyone on the screen. And you can make them a host or make them a co-host. Right now they all, oh, here comes the cat. Sorry. You can make them a host, you can make them a co-host, or you can withdraw co-host permission, or you can rename them. I use rename when people dial in under their phone usually, or if I see that they are not the same person as their name, right? And then when you, the host, changes their name on the screen, it's going to show up that way for everybody else in the group as well. All right, so that's sort of the basics of what you can do when you fly over each of your participants' names. Are there any questions about that? Let me find my chat. Where's my chat? You know, sometimes I learn that, okay, where's my chat? More chat, okay. Where is it seen on a phone? And she found it, good. And no, is there a reason my more only has 2 options? Michelle, what are your 2 options? Chat and start video. That actually suggests to me that possibly you are not a co-host. Let me see if I can find you here. Michelle. No, I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, Michelle. That's interesting. And sometimes I learn new things every time I do any kind of presentation on Zoom. The other thing I wanted to call attention to here is the yes, no down here, which down at the bottom of your participant box, there's a yes, no. If you have a group of people who you're meeting with frequently, so you know, you don't necessarily want to go through a Zoom tutorial every time you get onto Zoom, but if you have people who you're meeting with frequently, this is really a good feature if you say, okay, all you guys if you open up your participant box, you're going to have the option to click yes, no, or raise your hand. That's another option that they have. So if I want to ask the whole group a question, I can do it in a couple of ways. I can do a poll, and we'll go through that a little bit later. Or I can ask them to answer the question in the chat, which is great for certain things. And then you can ask them to answer a yes, no question. So I want everybody to answer this question. Oh, and I should go slower. You can see somebody clicked the go slower button. And so now I can see on my participant list that one person has asked me to go slower. So I'm going to ask all of you, let's see here. Do you have kids at home? And we have about 11 who have kids at home and 18 who don't, which is great. So that's one way that you can do that. And then if I want to ask another question, I would go over to the right in that box and I would hit clear all. So then I would empty out all of those responses. Does that make sense to folks? Any questions? And for some of the folks who arrived late, I'm adding you as a co-host because unless you're a co-host, you don't necessarily see all the same things that everybody is seeing on the thing. All right. Okay, so that's the basics of the screen share. So, oops. Of the participants. Okay, so here's my mute your best friend thing. So there's a couple of things. You can mute all or unmute all. You can unmute individual people. So sometimes when people have their mute off, all of a sudden you see their picture on your screen. The way that Zoom works is the person who is speaking is usually the one who is showing up biggest on your screen. So if that happens, you know they are unmuted and you can go into the participant list and mute them, or you can ask them to mute themselves. You can preset your Zoom meeting. If you guys are setting your own Zoom meetings to mute everybody upon entry, I don't do that because I like for people to be able to talk to each other. I figure, you know, there's a good 5 minutes of downtime at the beginning, and having a little chit chat doesn't kill anyone when we're all alone in our caves out in the world. So, and I was thinking about this when I was putting this together. Some of you probably have Zoom accounts and you're setting up your own meetings. And some of you probably have someone else who is setting up the meeting for you. And if there's an interest in having a tutorial about the back end of Zoom, about how to set up meetings and that kind of thing, I can do that. So if you guys are interested in something like that, we can talk about that. If you mute all, don't forget that your guests or your co-hosts will be muted as well, so you will need to individually unmute them. The reason why I always make my guests a co-host is so that they can show up at the very top of the list. Because you guys saw when you clicked the manage participants that right now we have 50 people. So if I'm looking for an individual person, I'm having to, you know, go through the alphabetical list, which isn't impossible, but if I have made my guests a co-host, then first of all, they are able to easily share their screen if they want, but also they are going to be right at the very tippy top of the list, so that I can find them to unmute them whenever I have to do a mute all. Let me check the chat again here. So does the yes, no option only work if if all are co-hosts, and the answer is no. The yes, no option is open to everybody, whether you are a participant or a co-host. That's sort of a global thing. Any other questions about the participants?
I have a question.
Yeah.
How come I don't see yes or no? Where is that one? I was looking, you ask you about children, and where is that yes or no? I don't see.
Yeah, so, hold on a second. Where is it? No, all right. So when you click the Manage Participants button, underneath everybody's name on that list, above the invite, mute all, and unmute all, there's a line that says yes, no, go slower, go faster, more. Yours might be in a slightly different order. Do you see that, Maria? I think you're muted again. Do you see that, Maria?
Okay.
I don't have a line either.
Okay, huh. Is there some sort of, so you guys don't see, and you don't see the yes, no, or anything like that on your screens?
Yes and no. Go slower, go faster. I see that.
Yeah.
You all in white. I see that.
That's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
So now I got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Go
welcome.
back.
I don't see it. I've got the microphone and I've got the video camera.
So did you click, who's speaking there?
Nancy.
Okay. So Nancy, have you clicked Manage Participant?
Where's that?
So on your menu bar,
Yeah.
what we're all looking at is the Manage Participants. So click on Manage Participants.
I just have, you are viewing Kathy's screen. View options.
Do you have a menu bar?
Yeah, it's reactions, record, chat, share screen. Oh, here, participants. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, there it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see it now.
Okay, that's where it is. So that's where the, and you know, sometimes these things are in different order, so you need to check the more button sometimes to actually see them.
And how come your sentences, your written information is cut off at the end? It's covered by the pictures.
Yeah, I don't know.
It just says people, well, it's the pictures that are covering it, but it just like question 1, 2, 3, 4 ends at but and then starts again at the corner or the corner.
I don't know. I can't quite figure out what you're looking at. Are you looking at the screen that says mute your best friend?
Yeah, it says mute your best friend, and then it says people can unmute themselves with 6 or by hitting the microphone, but the corner of their screen. See, the very end of the sentence is missing.
Oh, right. Okay, I see. So is that because the picture is in there?
Yeah.
So you can move that picture around on your own screen to get it out of the way, or you can make it go away altogether. That's something that's on your screen, I think.
Okay, got it.
Yep. All right. Let me see more chat here. Right, so yeah, Kim was saying that her pictures of the participant along the side of her screen instead of the top. And yeah, so you just need to move those out of the way. And you can actually move them to the top, and then it just goes across the top of your screen. It's a little bit easier to not block anything. All right. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is chat. And you guys are all experienced chatters on Zoom at this point. So this is pretty simple. You can private chat to just one person, or you can chat to everyone. And so you will have a an up arrow or down arrow next to the to line where you can choose everyone or just one person. You can see how in the chat box, if it has your name or if it has everyone, that is hyperlinked. So if you want to send something to some specific person, you can click on their name, or you can do it from participants. There's a lot of ways to do that. I will warn folks that if they're having private conversations with each other, when the chat transcript is downloaded to the host's computer, they can see all of your private chat. So private is not 100% private, just a little FYI. All right, so we have found in our webinars that chat is a really great way to get people to participate. You put out a question and ask them to answer in the chat. This obviously is not so helpful for 4-year-olds, but for adults, this is a good way to keep people engaged and seeing each other's thoughts about what's going on. In the chat, you can also share documents. And so I want you to click on chat, which on mine, I actually have to go to more now to get to chat. And then on the right-hand side of the to line, you can see a little button that says file. So you can actually share a file with the rest of the group by clicking on that and then finding it on your computer and clicking go. You can also set up your Zoom to not allow files and not allow participants to chat, although that seems really mean. But that is an option for you as well. Oh, and Michelle doesn't have the option to add files. Maybe it's just for the host, not sure. All right, other questions about chat?
That part confuses me, but we'll move on and I'll figure it out later.
Yeah, you know, Zoom is one of those things that you can spend time clicking in. The other element of Zoom that I'm not entirely sure of is that I operate Zoom from a PC. And this does not always look the same on an iPad or a phone or an Apple device. So some of these things are maybe specific to PC, and so
So Katy, question.
Yeah.
For example, if I'm gonna do Zoom,
Mm-hmm.
and for example, if it's parents talk to me back, and I can click file, it means it's gonna record them?
No, recording is different.
Oh.
We'll talk about recording. So do you see down on your big menu bar down below, do you see anything that says recording? Do not click it.
You can't, okay.
Do not click it, all of my 50 co-hosts, because we are recording right now. You have a recording option, and we will get to that near the end.
Thank you.
For all of you, oh yes, the file is on the chat box itself. So for those of you who didn't see it, it's on the chat box itself, right next to the to line on the right-hand side. Okay, so for those of you who have to leave early to attend something else, this is going to be recorded, so you'll be able to access it on YouTube, and we'll send something out. Okay, this one is really critical, share screen. So what I want you all to do is I want you to click your share screen button and then touch nothing else. So click on your share screen and then touch nothing else. You should see something like this, where you have a big white box that has basic and advanced at the top, and then you have the pre-selected thing says screen on it, and whiteboard is to the right. And then all of the boxes that are down below that are actually the other windows that you have open on your computer. So does everybody see that?
The box that says this will stop. Oh, other screens sharing. Okay.
Right. Do not share. Do not click share. This is just so that you can see what this looks like on your computer, right? So in order to share your screen, you basically, the very basic of screen sharing is that you would click on that screen share button, and then you would click on screen, and then you would, down at the bottom right-hand side, there's a little button that says share, and you would click share. Do not do that. And that shares everything, right? That shares whether, you might see my email, you're gonna see my desktop, you're gonna see me navigate all around. You have a choice of just sharing one thing. Like I can choose to only share the PowerPoint. So I can just go down to and click on Learn Zoom with Katy and just share that PowerPoint. The drawback with that is that during your PowerPoint, if you ever have any desire to go to the internet to show someone something or to play a video or anything like that, they will not be able to see it. Your participants can only see your PowerPoint if that is what you choose. Does that make sense to folks? And because of that, I usually, just to make it simple, I just do share screen and let them see my email. The other thing I want to draw your attention to is down at the bottom of your white box, where it says share computer sound and optimized screen sharing for video clip. If you are going to show anything that has sound, you absolutely must select that box. The other one you can live without, but if you're going to show a video, if you show it and you have not clicked that box, they will be able to see the video running on your screen if you're sharing your screen, but they will not be able to hear it. So, oh, somebody clicked yes. All right. Whoever that is needs to stop sharing their screen. Nancy?
Is it me?
Yes.
I closed. I'm sorry.
Okay, so you need to stop sharing your screen.
Okay, how do I stop it again?
So there should be, you should have a menu bar, and at the bottom of your menu bar, which might have moved to the top at this point, there's a red button that says stop sharing.
Okay, a red one? I don't see a red box. I have share computer sound, share.
Okay, so Nancy, I'm gonna unselect you here.
Good. That'll be easier.
Let's see, Nancy, I'm trying to find you. This is the challenge of having a million people on the, oh, here we go. Okay, so I'm withdrawing my co-host permission here. Why are you still there?
I have no idea. Please shut me down.
All right, I'm gonna, okay.
There you
go. All right.
Yep.
Okay, so yeah, and the answer to that question is yes, you absolutely, so someone asked on the chat whether you could show a YouTube video, and yes, you absolutely can. But you must make sure that you click that button down at the bottom, that share computer sound, in order to do that. So if you share your screen and you have clicked that button, you can show a YouTube video. Other questions about that? All right, I also want to show you, I want to show you the whiteboard. So the other thing on the on your white box is the whiteboard. So I'm going to share a whiteboard here. This is actually interactive. I can use this to draw or you know, do something. I can use the text to write in something. And I believe you all can write on my whiteboard. So feel free to try that. I've never actually used the whiteboard in the context of a meeting. But if someone wants to try it out, feel free. We'll look at the chat. Right, so somebody has successfully achieved it.
I'm not getting it. There's somebody else.
See a lot of folks. Yes, good. So, so I don't know. That might be something for kids to do that they might like. Michelle Knights is asking how you try it out. And so, can somebody who just managed to do it tell Michelle how that worked?
It was me. So, what I did on the whiteboard, there should be like a little icon for like for you to use your pen, and then you can.
Right. So you should see some sort of a mini menu up there that has the different options, and so that should work. You know, with Zoom, I have found that because there's so many different platforms that people are using, and Michelle Aldrich is wondering if it's because she's on a Chromebook that she can't see some of this stuff. You know, things don't always work in exactly the same way on everybody's computer. So that's one of the reasons why I've never used the whiteboard, because I've never been able to figure out how everybody sees it on their various devices. So, but I wanted to show you that because it's possible that you can experiment with that with your colleagues, if that might work. All right.
I also can't do it.
Yeah, it's a mystery. I have, and so someone asked how you access the whiteboard, and the way that you do it is you, let me go back to the PowerPoint here. Oops, that's not the one, hold on. So the way that you do, whoopsie, let me close that. Share screen again. I keep getting all these emails that interrupt my flow. All right, so this is, so in order to get to the whiteboard, you do share screen, and then instead of selecting screen, you select whiteboard. All right, next thing. Okay, polls. So there is a feature in here to do polls. One thing, and so these are all multiple choice. You can't have any, there's no word cloud thing or anything fun like that. These are all multiple choice. You must set up your polls when you set up your meeting, so in the back end of Zoom. And they are a little bit glitchy. Like whenever I have run a poll, there are always, just like on the whiteboard, there are always some people who are participating in the Zoom meeting who can't access it. And I have no idea why that is. So I use polls at the beginnings of meetings sometimes just to get a sense of you know, how many staff and parents we have in a call so that we can better calibrate, but they're not ideal. This is what it looks like. And what I will say is you cannot run a poll unless you are the host. As a co-host, you probably cannot do this down there. You can click down there and see. Do you guys have a polls? Do you have a polls thing on your menu bar? I think it's only for hosts. So I set up two hosts. I set up two 2 polls in advance, and this is what it looks like when I see it as a host. I pull up, I hit the polls button, and then I can choose with the down arrow next to edit whether I want to use my poll number 1 or my poll number 2. And then I hit, whoops, launch. And then theoretically, that poll will go out to all of the participants. It does not go to the co-hosts. So we cannot actually run a poll right now because I would have to individually unco-host you all. So you would hit launch. And then the next thing, after you have a whole bunch of people who have responded, this is what it looks like. It says in progress. And then if I think that enough people have responded, I will hit end polling. You can see down at the very, very bottom of that. And then you have the opportunity to either share the results or relaunch the polling. Relaunching will relaunch the exact same poll. So if you just want to go to a different poll, you need to go to the up arrow and find your other poll. And then once you've shared your results, you can close out your poll. The other thing I always like to tell people is that this feature in Zoom is slow. So if you are doing a poll, make sure that you know what you're going to talk about while everybody figures out and complains that they can't find the poll or they're not seeing it or whatever. Keep talking. Tell them that it will probably show up on their screen. Sometimes it just takes 30 seconds before it shows up on their screen, and it takes 30 seconds before the results will show on your screen. It's just a little bit slow, and so take that into account when you're doing it so that you can not have large empty time for your attendees. Doris has asked, what's the purpose of making everybody a co-host? Let me just say, normally I do not make everybody a co-host on anything. The only reason why we are doing it on this is that if you are a participant, you do not see the same things on all of these, on your menu bar, on your, when you went to participants, you had all of those choices about whether or not you could rename someone or make them a host or, you know, pin their video to the front or whatever, spotlight their video. If you are not a co-host, you can't see those. And so for this training only, I made everybody a co-host so that you can all actually click on the buttons and see what I would see as a co-host. So Doris, that's the only reason. The only other reason why I make people a co-host is if they are presenting with me or if they want to share their screen. And I can see that Christine is on an iPhone and she can't see a lot of what we're accessing. Christine, I will talk to Joel. Joel does a lot of his meetings on an iPhone. And I know that it took a while for him to figure out where things were too. I think that they are just, everything on iPhones is different. And it's just a little bit more difficult to find. But I think it's still available. All right, so that is polls. One of the great benefits of the of Zoom is the breakout rooms. And can everybody click on participants? And then how many of you have used breakout rooms in the past as a participant or as a host? I think mostly no's. So you have not experienced the glory that is breakout rooms. So particularly, so we are using this with parents. We do weekly meetings with our parent ambassador group, and we use breakout rooms because it is hard to have a really great conversation with 20 to 25 people on a call, right? It's often much more meaningful if you can reduce that to, you know, 3 to 6 people in a group. So one of the features of Zoom, even with the cheap version that I have, I just pay $16.95 a month for our organization to participate in Zoom, is the breakout rooms. You can only do this if you are the host, so you guys are not seeing this. But down here in the corner, in the right-hand corner, you can see that when I click on breakout rooms, I see this box, create breakout rooms, assign 39 participants into 6 rooms. I can choose the number of rooms. I can choose whether I want to assign these automatically or manually. So for our parent ambassadors, for example, we manually regionalize them. We put them into groups that, you know, we have an Eastern Washington group and we have a Southwestern Washington group and that kind of thing, so that they are talking with people who are nearby. And then when you get sent out into the group, you then are there talking to each other and the host is not with you anymore. You are, and so one of the ways that I have experienced this myself is DCYF has done meetings where they have used breakout rooms. And so they will say, okay, you know, we want to have a discussion and then a report back on, you know, on this question about what we should do about ECAP expansion or whatever it is. And then so we will all go out into our breakout room. We may each have an individual question that we're answering. Then we will have a discussion. As the host, I can send a blast email out to all of these groups or to any particular groups, reminding them of the question or telling them that we're gonna close it up in 5 minutes or whatever. Or, you know, I can tell them, please make sure that you have somebody who's going to report out. And then I can close all of the rooms, and it's like, and then once I say close all the rooms, there's a 1 minute thing where it ticks down and people end up back in the main big room. So let's see here, let me check the chat. Yeah, so any questions about breakout rooms? I recommend the breakout rooms for staff training and discussions. It's really great. And for the parents, it's been really great. Let's see here, another chat. How do you get to the breakout rooms? So you guys are not able to see this, but you know, your big gray menu bar where you see manage participants, polls, or you don't see polls, but chat, share, all of that. You are down there, if you are the host, you see a button down there that says breakout rooms. So that's where, and then so if I were the host, I could just click there and then start that process. In the back end of your Zoom, this is not actually a pre-selected item. You actually have to go into the settings of your breakout, of your Zoom account, if you are the one who's setting the meeting up, and you need to make it possible to do breakout rooms. It's down in the advanced category, so but it's not too difficult to find if you're in your settings. Any other questions about that? All right. Okay, so one of the things I want to talk about is the way that Zoom works. When you are speaking, usually you are the person whose video is showing up big on the screen, right? As a participant or as a presenter, you have the option of making it like all of the different boxes instead of the big box. But in general, what happens in the default is that people see the person who's speaking. the challenge for this, when you are doing an interactive group with kids, is that kids are loud. I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but they tend to make a lot of noises. And so if you are doing something where you want the kids to be speaking up, then by all means, have them all unmuted, right? But one of the things that we have learned in doing our interactive Spanish story times on Fridays. So every Friday we have a Spanish story time, and Maricela, she reads a book to the kids, and she asks them questions, and it's very interactive. They do dancing, they do all this stuff. And one of the things that she really wanted out of this is she wanted the kids to see each other, because they're all home alone and they don't see each other. And in fact, this is something that the kids and the families really like, is the opportunity to see other kids doing the same thing in a room. But what we learned after the first one is that if you are reading a story and you have and you don't have all of the kids muted while you're reading your story, you're holding your book up to show them your story, you every time one of those kids makes noise, or whether there's noise in the background, your video disappears, right? So your video disappears for them, so the other kids can't see the book anymore. So the way that we have done it, there's a couple of things. One is that you can pin your video, and I'm not sure that if it always works on their end, but you can, like if you are up in the, let me see here. Let me try to remember where this is. Stop share. So right now my video is spotlighted, so you're all seeing me on the front. But I can, down on the lower left-hand, nope, that's not it. Hold on a second. Let me find my, if I find my, I don't know. It's not working. So, oh, now somebody else's screen is coming up, Christiana's. You might have a spotlight. So if I go up to my video and click the more, I can click my spotlight video so that I show up, but that doesn't always work. So what we have tended to do when we are working with kids in an interactive way is we have kept our hand on the mute, unmute button, so that while we are reading a story, Maricela will have everybody muted, and she will read the story, and then she'll get to the end of a page and she'll want to say, where do you think that bear went next? And then she will unmute everybody, and the kids will yell or they will talk, and she will have an interaction with them, and then she'll say, okay, and then she'll turn the page and she'll mute everybody. So there may be other ways to do this, but we're all beginners here, and that is how we figured out how to do it semi-effectively. It's still controlled chaos. Don't get me wrong. You've got a whole bunch of 3- and 4-year-olds on a Zoom meeting, so there's no way that it's going to be 100% professional. But the kids really love it, and it works for Maricela too. And so yeah, it works great. Any questions about that?
I can't see my chat box. Is that because you can already hear me? I
can hear you,
okay.
But you can also always click on the chat to see it.
Well, see, I don't even see an icon to press the chat.
So on your menu bar, if you don't see an icon that you usually see, click on more.
I'm not even sure where to I don't know where to find more, so I'm not going to worry about it.
Okay. So a couple of people in this in the group have asked about the virtual background. So you can see that this right behind me is This is Lake Chelan. This is my very old-timey family cabin built in 1923 and not really updated. That's the view. And in order to change your video background, there's a couple things you need to know. One is you need to have kind of a blank screen behind you. I've taken all the art off my wall in order to be able to have a background. The way that you change your background is you go down to where you see the video camera icon in the left-hand corner next to your microphone. And to the right of that, usually there is an arrow, and you choose virtual background. Mind you, I know, having talked to my mom about this, she has an iPad, that it works differently on an iPad, and I'm not entirely sure how that works. But for most things, you choose a virtual background, and then there are some defaults in there, but you can also click the plus sign on choose next to choose virtual background on the right hand side under your picture, and you can add something from your own files. So I do family Zoom calls with my niece a lot, and so I have a lot of very colorful and entertaining backgrounds for her viewing pleasure. And the kids might like that as well. I have a lot of yeah. So I think we just did. Here's the trolls. So yeah. And Julie Finnegan has said that you can also hang up a blank sheet behind you to add a background. Yeah, the critical thing is that, so I can't, it may be telling you that you have to have a green screen and you have, things like that. That's not the case. You just have to have an empty background in order to make it work. And even when you do that, you can see that I'm kind of, not everything is really showing up. It's not perfectly crisp. But yeah, this is how you do the background.
Okay. If I cut and paste the picture of a book, like Silly Sally, can I have it come up behind me if I have a picture of it?
Yeah, as long as it's the right size, you can definitely do that. And make sure that if you're cutting a picture of the book, you will want to make a picture where it's showing up like to the left of the center or to the right of the center, so that your head is not right on top of it.
Okay.
I have learned that by various backgrounds that I've had in here, like this is Chichen Itza and I'm just in the middle of the pyramid. And there are others where where you can accidentally block people or whatever. So yeah, there's a lot. I've also downloaded some backgrounds from the internet. I like to entertain my staff. I have a different background for every staff meeting. And it's a good conversation starter as well. All right, let me see here. Let me go back to the PowerPoint. And I have a couple of other tips here. So one is recording. So on your bar down below, you have an option to record your meeting. You can, in fact, set up your meeting to automatically record. I had done that in the beginning, but I don't do it anymore. And the reason is twofold. One is that it was recording to the cloud, and I quickly maxed out my storage allowable in Zoom in the cloud. And the other is that there's always a fair amount of chit chat at the beginning of a meeting. And so if you want to record just the part of the meeting that is the meat of the meeting, you will want to create a habit in yourself to start the recording right when you're about to start the actual meeting. You don't have to worry about stopping the meeting, because when you close out, it's automatically going to start saving that thing. I always save the recording onto my desktop. So, and then it saves into a folder in documents, I think, under Zoom. So I can do a search in Zoom and I can find everything, and it will be saved under the name of your meeting. So it's pretty easy to find. And then what we do with it is that we upload it to YouTube. Some of you have asked about whether you can post this on SharePoint or whatever. I'm sure you can. It's an MP4, so it's not a complicated file type. It works pretty well. And let's see here. I think that's about all I have. I'll open it up to questions.
So this will be on YouTube, so we can go over it again, because I'm kind of overwhelmed.
I know, you know, it's a lot in one sitting. Yeah.
So Kathy, I have on my screen the bridge. So how I can unpin it? Go back to the video.
So for you, if you want to, are you saying you want to get rid of it?
Yes.
Okay, so to get rid of your background, you would do the same thing. You would go down to your video icon and click the down arrow and go to choose virtual background. And then you would choose none instead of choosing the picture of the Golden Gate.
Where is this? What video? Oh, it says mirror my video. Is that what
No. So down at the
Sorry.
down on your big menu bar
Call me back
next
later.
to
Stop videos, and I click arrow, and
so click on the arrow, do the choose virtual background.
okay.
And now you should see your picture, or go down to virtual background on the list.
And put
settings,
none.
and then click none.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. That's a good point. It's good to know not only how to put it on there, but how to get rid of it as well.
Thank you. Yeah. Still learning process.
All right, so for Elizabeth, the option to send a file. So if you are in the chat, which you probably are right now, you can see to, and then maybe everyone. And then on the right-hand side of that, there's 3 dots that say more. Oh wait, I don't have it either at this point. Weird. So I don't know, it disappeared. I can't explain how to send a file since it doesn't show up on mine either at the moment. Sometimes it's a mystery, you guys. And I always say with any kind of computer software or whatever, that half of what you are doing is figuring out a way around whatever's not working. So if something's not working, don't feel bad. Ask around, try to figure out a workaround, and you're all welcome to contact me if you have any questions as well. Because
now I notice on the bottom, there's where the chat says, it says Alana, who happens to work with me, and it says type your message. How come it's like that? Is audio not working, or?
So you're talking about on the chat?
Yeah, it says Zoom chat, and at the very bottom it has a line and then has Alana's name too, and type message here. Is that if she doesn't have has her thing on mute or what? So
no, sometimes if you have accidentally clicked their name or something in the chat, then it will show up that you, that Zoom thinks that you want to send a private message to that person. But if you want to send something to everyone, you can just click on any one of those hyperlinked everyone's and send something.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Other questions?
Not yet.
All right. Well, I think that there's nothing. Michelle Aldrich has said that logging on through the desktop shows different options. That's absolutely true. This all of these things are way more difficult to manage on a computer, something big rather than on a phone. It's a lot easier. So yeah, if you are hosting a meeting, try to get the most advanced technology that you can, given the circumstances. Yeah. I want to thank you all for joining me, and I will, as soon as I have the video up, I'll send it out to everybody who registered for this. And I'll send you a copy of the PowerPoint and also the link to the recording on YouTube. And I hope that I will see some of you on some of our meetups this week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, and I also wanted to mention that so we have a webinar coming up on Friday that I really recommend to families if you guys are family support and working, with Devin Stubblefield, who is a financial literacy coach that we've worked with for many years with parents. And he's doing a webinar session, both English, and we're doing simultaneous interpretation on sort of financial management in the time of crisis. So really talking to parents about what might be available to them, but also how they should think about the decisions that they are, forced to make during this time of crisis. So I recommend that to folks, and that's available on our big website or our big webinar webpage as well. So
as I say, Alana at the bottom is a friend of mine, and so I typed in the word hi. How do I know if she got it or not?
I don't know.
Okay. We'll have to figure it out later.
All right. Well, thank you, everybody, and have a great day. And the Friday Zoom for Devin Stubblefield will also be posted to YouTube. Yes. Yeah.
Thank you.
And I will send you all
Katy.
the link for Friday. Yep.
We shall survive.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks,
Thank
guys.
you.
Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.